Hello everybody, and either welcome or welcome back to my podcast. As always, if you do like this, please rate, comment, and subscribe. You can find me on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, and YouTube. So here we are, the last episode of 2018. And I'm going to take time today to do one that I've been meaning to do for quite a while. And that's on a particular piece that Megan Murphy wrote. And admittedly, she wrote this back in 2012. I'm still going to go with it because not much has changed on this front and actually has probably gotten a bit worse. But this is a piece that got resurfaced into my Twitter timeline during the whole Megan Murphy dead naming getting kicked off of Twitter controversy kerfuffle thing. And as far as I know, she's still not back on Twitter. But just as kind of a recap on that situation, I spoke about it before in another episode, but I don't, even though I don't agree with much of anything that Megan Murphy has to say about much of anything ever, I am very anti-deplatforming. I don't think that somebody should be deplatformed, especially not for what she was deplatformed for. So, just as an aside to that, and just as a heads up for this, yes, this is going to be discussing sex and sexual topics, so don't listen to this if you're in the car with your babies. Turn this one off and wait until your babies aren't around to listen to it, okay? I don't want y'all to have to answer any weird, awkward questions about what is the lady on the podcast talking about, mom or dad. So, just as a heads up, and also if you are somewhat more squeamish or sensitive about that kind of content, you might want to skip this one because it's, like I said, I always try to keep it on this side of TMI, but this might end up getting a little graphic, so let's go ahead and get into it. So the title of this piece, and this is from her feministcurrent.com webpage that she runs. The title of the piece is Facials, Feminism, and Performance on Fucking Men in a Patriarchy. Okay? I warned you guys. This is your last exit. If you got babies in the car, cut this one off. If you don't like sexual content, cut this one off. Because from here on out, it's only going to get worse. So, the piece starts like this. As feminists, sleeping with men is always going to be a little fraught. Not getting to the actual act per se, jumping into bed with people we feel like jumping into bed with can be pretty straightforward. Rather, the politics surrounding feminists having sex with men within the context of a patriarchy, as well as, of course, the maintenance of a sexual relationship with a man in the long term. Yeah, you can already tell this is just going to be a barrel of fun, laughs, good times, not at all navel-gazing about what you like and what you don't like sexually and how your sexual desires are problematic. No, it's not going to be that at all. Going back to the piece. Applying the phrase, the personal is political, seems particularly difficult when we are talking about an act that can be very private and very personal. Certainly sex is one of those things that can make us feel extremely vulnerable. Including politics or even acknowledging that, in one way or another, there is a larger context to our behavior when it comes to sex, leaves something to be desired. Particularly for women who work so hard to shake the inner and outer critic that says, you're not good enough, you're not hot enough, you're too slutty, you're not slutty enough. I get why we might want to avoid opening ourselves up to further public critique in the form of feminism. Get the fuck out of my bedroom does strike me as a remarkably reasoned response. Well, Megan, if it strikes you as a perfectly, remarkably reasoned response, then the proper thing you should do right now would be to stop writing this piece and just close down your laptop for the day and go do something else with your day other than finish this fucking piece. But obviously, that's not what happens because we keep going. Let's keep going. That said, I'm not one to take individual acts as simply individual acts. Recently, Emily McCombs posted a piece at XOJane about her love of facials. No, not the kind you get at a spa. She wrote, "No, I don't feel degraded by it, nor do I think my male partner's enjoyment of said act means they hate women. I mean, if they did, there are faster ways to oppress us than one shot at the face at a time." She adds, "My orgasms are a politics-free zone." Well, Emily seems very well adjusted and seems to have gotten a grip on her sexuality and what she likes and what she doesn't like. And for what it's worth, I mean, actually, you know what? I'm gonna save that point let's go a little further into peace and I'll make the point that I was about to make. So, okay, I also want politics to stay out of my orgasms, but oh, they just won't. Yes, Megan, they just will. All you gotta do is let them. I can't help but acknowledge that sometimes the things we do or want or say in the bedroom are not entirely free of politics. Being aware that the larger context that, for example, might create a desire for a man to come on our faces might possibly include, well, porn for one, doesn't make you a bad person for enjoying the act. Okay, keep that point in your head, because she's about to completely shit all over the point that she just made. I think it's possible for an act to be symbolically degrading without an individual necessarily feeling degraded by that act in all circumstances. Feeling degraded isn't necessarily necessary in order to acknowledge that often our desires are shaped by a larger culture that has worked very hard for a very long time to sexualize the degradation of women. And that acknowledgement does not mean that same thing as saying you are bad and wrong and unfeminist and ruining feminism for everyone because of the things that turn you on in bed. Nope, not the same. Okay, let's back this up a little bit. First of all, you don't get to say to anybody who, upon saying that they enjoy thing X in the bedroom, that just because that person doesn't feel degraded by it, that it's somehow degrading. Like, there's the only thing that should really make any difference when you are performing a sex act with somebody is this mutually consensual? Is this mutually enjoyable? Anything beyond that, fucking stop. Stop right there, because the rest of it doesn't fucking matter. Like, that's it. That's all that should be taken into context here. Not wondering about whether somebody else would view this act as degrading if it happened to them. Okay, you can feel that way, but you don't get to put that on somebody else when they're point blank telling you that, no, I don't feel degraded by this sex act. You don't run up and say, well, it's symbolically degrading and you should feel kind of degraded. Like, no, you don't get to make those kinds of judgments about what other people do or don't do in the bedroom or whatever room you choose to have sex in. And as far as the concept of society sexualizing the degradation of women, I'm going to need some definitions of some of these words here for me to even remotely start taking this seriously. Like, first of all, I'm going to need you to define society, sexualizing, and degradation. Because when? I'm going to need some concrete examples. If somebody's going to say something like that, like, you need to come with some examples of where society has sexualized the degradation of women. Because I can't think of any. Like, if y'all know some, please hit me up, let me know, or at least explain to me where women like Megan Murphy and this rad femme idea of sexual degradation of women is coming from. And just to finish off this paragraph, you don't get to finish off a paragraph where you make very specific points by saying those are not the points I'm making. Because you just fucking did make those points. You don't get to say that you didn't. Like, no, you basically did just say that you're bad and wrong and unfeminist and ruining feminism for everyone because of the things that turn you on in bed. Because if you're going to say that your response to somebody who is saying, I like this sex act, I don't find it degrading, is that, well, you should, basically, and that it's symbolically degrading, is saying that, yeah, you're bad and wrong and ruining feminism because of what you like in bed. That's exactly what the hell you're saying. Don't say that you're not. Like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Anyway, let's keep going in the piece, because this does not get any easier. It gets harder. Let's keep going. To me, I just can't see the point of being a feminist if I'm not going to ask why about most everything I ask. I ask why I keep shaving my legs, why I'm unable to eat food for the entire day before a first date. I get nervous, you guys. Why I think buying shoes will make my life better, and I ask why I feel or think or do the things I do in bed with a man. Sometimes I even think about why I go to bed with men in the first place. Is this biological or social? Would I be a lesbian if I hadn't been conditioned towards heterosexuality? Some of these questions I have answers for, others I'm not quite so sure about. But I know this. Much of my sexual history and behavior has been determined by factors, including my growing up a girl in a man's world. Okay, let's roll this back to the beginning, because this is one that just needs to be picked apart almost line by line. Okay, first of all, I mean, I guess you can ask yourself why you do the things you do. I don't really understand why you would spend a lot of time navel-gazing about it. I mean, if you just want to stop shaving your legs, stop shaving your legs, I guess. If you get butterflies in your stomach before a first date, that's not society. That's you in your head telling your body to do weird things that I don't thoroughly understand. And, I mean, buying shoes, that's not really society either. That's more conditioning to think that if you do thing A, then you will be happy. But if it does make you happy, then what difference does it fucking make? Like, if buying shoes makes you happy, then okay, roll with it. Like, there's definitely worse things that you can be doing in life than buying shoes. And here's the thing that kind of, it's sitting down and navel-gazing about why you feel or like or do the things that you do in bed strikes me as something of a fool's errand. Like, okay, I guess you can, but why? Like, why? Why is it not enough to just simply say that you like to do this thing or that thing without having to deeply psychoanalyze, why do I like this? Where did I learn about this? Did I learn about it from a problematic place? Is this problematic? Should I be liking this? Should I not be liking this? Am I somehow degrading myself? Am I somehow objectifying myself in a way that I shouldn't be? And it's just like, take a big step back and just enjoy sex. Stop analyzing it so much. Like, stop picking it to death. Like, my God, just enjoy what you enjoy, people. Just, that's all you got to do. But here's the really hold the phone part of this paragraph for me. And that's this idea that your sexual orientation is something that's conditioned into you by society, which, wait a goddamn minute here. Is Megan making the argument that one's sexual orientation is nurture and not nature? And to make this abundantly clear, if I have not prior, I believe that sexual orientation is indeed something you are born with. You are born either liking the opposite sex as you're born liking the same sex, you're born liking both sexes. Whatever it is that you like, it's not something that is conditioned into you by society. And this is one of those where I talk about how basically politics is horseshoe theory, it's not linear, and that the far left and the far right are a hell of a lot closer to each other than either one would want to admit. This argument that sexuality and sexual orientation is something that is conditioned into you by society has been used to justify things like conversion camps, or that you can like pray the gay away, or that you can just like beat the shit out of a gay person and then they'll stop being gay. Like, that's not how this fucking works. So this argument right here, like, no, you can go all the way to the back of the fucking room with that. Like, that's not how this works. And if you wanted to be a lesbian, then you would be one. Like, if you were attracted to women, you would just be attracted to women. Like, and as far as society conditioning anybody to like anybody at this point, like, what the fuck? We don't live in like 1945 anymore. It's 2018. Being gay or lesbian or bisexual or whatever orientation that you identify as is pretty well accepted in society. It's not like the ye olden days where you had to pretend to be straight to make it through life. Like, it's not. You can be gay. You can be a lesbian. Like, nobody fucking cares anymore. Like, you can get married legally. You can have wedding cakes. You can do whatever the hell you want. Like, honestly, this is just the dumbest argument ever. And then just topping it off with something that is a personal pet peeve of mine. So I'm going to nail Megan for it. And that's this referring to yourself as a girl. Once you reach a certain age and a certain level of development, you're not a girl anymore, you're a woman. Stop infantilizing yourself. I mean, and I know that is a huge chunk of what is going on here, I think, sexually with women nowadays, is the infantilization of the self and of not wanting to fully embrace and kind of lean into one's sexuality and to fully express yourself sexually in an adult fashion. I think that is something that I would like to see somebody who probably has more time and more expertise in the area of kind of researching and thinking about stuff like that to unpack. Like, I'm doing my own little project on that, but I think there is a there. And so, yeah. Moving on back to the piece. My thoughts, desires, insecurities, and behaviors are not suddenly cordoned off from a larger culture once I close the bedroom door. I also don't believe I'm being degraded every time I have sex with a man, although many accuse feminists of holding this belief. I actually don't know a single feminist person in person who believes that. Okay, so you don't think that you're being degraded every time you have sex with a man, but you feel like there are sometimes you're being degraded? Like, maybe, I don't know, don't engage in those sexual encounters? Just me? I don't know. But again, there's this, and I've discussed this before, talking about various other stories, but there seems to be this idea that amongst these third wave, fourth wave, whatever freaking wave we're on now, that as a woman, sex is something that happens to you, not something that you do with somebody else. So if there is ever a situation where you're engaging in a sex act with somebody and all of a sudden you start feeling like not so great about it, like, why wouldn't you just say something or end that or move on to something else, or in some way like advocate for your own self and your own sexual agency and your own sexual pleasure, as opposed to just like sitting there and taking it and, I don't know, hoping it's better next time? Like, I don't get that. This is something I don't understand, because it's the exact opposite of how, like, especially us Xennials and Gen Xers were taught to view sex as women. Like, that whole period in time was such a great time because there was this message that as a woman, you were empowered to be in charge of your own sexual pleasure and that you should be enjoying sex. And I don't know how we got away from that back to where we are now. I'm confused, and if anybody knows, like, I have some ideas, again, that I'm kind of trying to work out, but I would be more than happy to hear anybody else's opinion on that topic. But moving back to the piece. Like McCombs, I don't see semen as dirty or offensive, though I'm not convinced that's what Dworkin meant when she said, the ejaculation on her is a way of saying, through showing, that she is contaminated with his dirt, that she is dirty. First off, I think there's a difference between the images we see in pornography, which is what Dworkin was referring to in this quote from her 1993 speech, pornography happens to women, and what we do as individuals in the bedroom, although these two may very well be connected. When we see a man ejaculating onto a woman's face in pornography, it is reasonable to view that act as representative of women's subordination. Mainstream pornography is generally, as Dworkin describes, about things happening to women's bodies. Things are done to their bodies, men are the actors, and male fantasies are projected onto the bodies of women. Oh, okay. I probably should have started this off by saying that Megan's not the biggest fan of porn or sex work in general, but this view of pornography is weird to me. Like, I don't know what kind of porn everybody else is watching, but I don't, like, it's not, I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. I think that people who look at porn in this particular fashion are looking way too deep into something that isn't a deep medium at all. Like, we're not talking like this is not the Odyssey here, people. It's fucking porn. Like, if you're trying to look into it for like hidden clues about society or sexuality or anything other than what is blatantly presented on the surface, you're looking too deep, because there ain't nothing there. Like, that's all it is. And what it is at its core is two or more people who are getting paid to have sex on camera and to do specific sex acts as they are being told to by the director or the producer or the scriptwriter or whoever is calling the shots. And that's it. Like, and just this whole idea that it's some grand commentary on society. It's like, I've never understood that. I don't get it, because it's just for pleasure. It's just for watching, because whether anybody wants to admit it or not, I'll admit it, people like to watch other people fuck. And that's what porn is. And that's why people are so freaking fascinated by it. It's watching other people fuck. And whether those people happen to be pros or amateurs or somewhere in between, it's curiosity. It's wanting to explore your sexuality through a medium that doesn't necessarily involve your body per se, but if you are watching two people do something and you're like, hey, that looks like something I might want to do, like, that's all this is. I've never understood the whole pornography as commentary on society argument. But on that note, and moving back to the piece, in film theory, everything has meaning. Everything is symbolic. Similarly, in pornography, as Dworkin points out, everything means something. Gender means something, bodies mean something, body parts mean something, the acts done to women mean something. Getting a facial in your bedroom doesn't necessarily have the same meaning as a woman getting a facial in a porn movie does, and in fact, the relevance of whether or not the individual actress in the porn appears to be enjoying the cum shot to her face is less important than the larger meaning of the image on the screen. I am not at all surprised that the majority of porn shows women basking in and positively loving receiving a facial, or that a lot more straight porn features women happily accepting facials than reacting with disgust and evident humiliation. Because women in porn are presenting a fantasy, and that fantasy is that women enjoy being objectified, come on, gang raped, called whores and bitches, whatever. Porn is about male fantasy. The fantasy is that women like everything that you do to them as a man. Again, if you're trying to apply something like film theory to porn, you're looking way too deep into a pretty shallow puddle. Like, it's not that major. But the idea that everything means something, and that everything in porn has some kind of symbolic meaning, like, I don't... Just stop. Like, you don't have to overanalyze every fucking thing on the planet. If you like porn, fine. Watch it, enjoy it, take it for what it is. If you don't like porn, fine. Don't watch it, don't enjoy it, but don't take it for what it isn't. Like, this shouldn't be that hard. And the whole idea that porn is fantasy. Yes, porn is fantasy. That's the whole fucking point of porn. And again, this whole concept of degradation and objectification, like, now, there are women who do enjoy facials. There are women that enjoy gang rape, or actually not gang rape, but actually like group sex. There's women who do enjoy being called whores and bitches in bed. There's women who enjoy all sorts of things. And whether these porn actresses are enjoying it or not, I don't know. I don't know them. All I know is that they're doing a job for money. And so obviously, if you're doing a job for money, you should probably look like you're enjoying it and having a good time. So again, it doesn't... Like, porn stars don't look this deeply into their job. Like, it's just a fucking job. It's a thing you do. You're supposed to look a certain way and you get paid money for it. Whatever. But just this whole... Like, oh my god. I can't imagine getting my head this far up my ass about sex and porn. Like, it's... Anyway, let's move on. So how does this translate into real life? Women spend a lot of time and energy trying to please men. We learn early on that we are being looked at, that we are to be looked at, that we are performers. It took years before I actually started enjoying sex. Years. I think what I enjoyed most about sex when I was younger was the feeling of being desired. The actual sex part was super boring for the first while. Okay. This kind of goes to examining gender roles in society and this idea that the male gaze, I suppose, is the catchphrase for this, that it only goes one way. That yes, men do look at women, like, let's not kid ourselves, like, obviously men look at other men if you're homosexual. Like, you look at things that you find aesthetically pleasing, and that goes for everything in life. Like, everybody likes to look at things that they like to look at. So if you're a man and you like women, then yeah, you're going to look at women. Now, how much time and effort as a woman you wish to put into satisfying the quote-unquote male gaze is entirely your business. Like, if you want to look a certain way, you do whatever you want. Like, leave the house in fucking pajamas. I don't give a shit. But there's not this expectation that you have to perform in a certain way in society for I don't even know what reason. Like, if you don't want to be a part of this, then don't. Like, just don't. Like, I think a lot of third wave feminists think that men think a lot more about these sorts of things than they really do, and have a lot more expectations of women than they actually do. So this idea that you have to dress a certain way and perform in public and to appease the male eye, it's like, that, no, you really don't. If you don't want to. Like, nobody's really expecting you to. But the part that killed me here is that it took her years before she actually started enjoying sex. Now, me personally, I don't do anything for any particular length of time if I'm not enjoying it. I damn sure am not going to sit here and suffer bad sex for fucking years, especially if I know how to remedy the situation, which leads me to a question that I have been asking myself and trying to figure out the answer to. And I kind of touched on this when I talked about the Atlantic piece on the sex recession. And that's this idea that, okay, is it that women are not comfortable telling men what they want in bed? Or is it that they don't know? Because those are two entirely different situations. Like, if you know how to get yourself off and you're just, for some reason, withholding this information from a dude when you're having sex with them, like, why? You don't have to be like a bitch about it, but, if you know the answer to the puzzle, like, why wouldn't you share the answer to the puzzle? You know what I'm saying? But if you don't know the answer to the puzzle, that's a much bigger problem, because you can't give an answer to a question if you don't know the answer. So, if this is something where, again, as a woman, if you're thinking that you're going to find some guy out there who is going to be able to solve this puzzle for you, you are going to spend a lot of time having some very bad sex, because trust and believe, that dude doesn't really exist outside of possibly hiring a sex worker, which is reason 5,672 why sex work and prostitution should be decriminalized. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. But I will climb down off of that soapbox. But just in the service of pointing out that if you're not looking within yourself to find the answers to certain questions, and you're going about from guy to guy to guy to try to find the answers to these questions of, what do I like in bed? What does get me off? Like, what is the answer to the puzzle here? You're not going to have a very good time. You're going to have a lot of bad times. So, yeah, I'm still trying to puzzle that one out to figure out what the answer to the question is whether they don't want to say or you don't know. All right, moving on. We learn as girls and women that the performance is more important than the actual feeling. Do you know how many women can't actually relax during sex because they're so self-conscious about whether or not their stomachs look flabby? A lot. read Cosmo, which actually suggests facing away from your partner during sex if you feel self-conscious about your body. How the hell are women supposed to have orgasms when they're worried about what their stomachs look like? And in other news, are men everywhere having trouble relaxing and coming when they're in bed with women because they're concerned that their pecs aren't muscly enough? Sigh. Okay. Again, this is a topic that I did touch on when I did my episode on the sex recession, but listen, when you're in bed with somebody and you're naked in front of somebody, you're vulnerable because you're naked. Like, there's no place to hide. But here's the thing. Try to understand, ladies, if nobody else has explained this to you before, men don't look at the naked female form the way women look at the naked female form, and especially not the way we look at our own particular naked female forms, because all of us have stood in front of the mirror naked and been like, oh my god, look, this thing and that thing, and why does my stomach have that weird line, and why does my ass do that thing, and why? They're not looking at that. Like, you have to learn to be comfortable with somebody when you're having sex with them. And again, this also goes to that idea of not hopping from man to man to man to man trying to find something, because again, this is another one of those things you're not going to find, which is trust and the ability to be comfortable in front of somebody with the knowledge that however you may see yourself in the mirror when you're naked, that man doesn't see you that way. Like, he's not looking at the parts that he doesn't want to look at. He's looking at the parts that he does want to look at. Like, he's not looking at your stomach unless he's into your stomach. Like, you start to understand, like, how dudes think and process things during sex. Like, they're not looking at, like, your cellulite and being like, Jesus Christ, you should do something about that. I mean, even Kendrick Lamar tried to tell y'all about seeing some ass with some stretch marks. Even Kendrick tried to tell you. But it's... And this idea that, my God, that you should do reverse cowgirl if you feel self-conscious, like, first of all, that's... Oh, my God. Like, no, you have to find it in yourself and be comfortable enough with your own body and your own sexuality to own your body and to be like, this is it. This is what it is. Like, maybe you're working on it. Maybe you're not. Whatever. This is what you're getting. And you shouldn't feel ashamed about it or get so fucking in your own head about it that you can't even relax and enjoy sex. Like, if that's where you're at, then you have some work to do with yourself mentally to get to a point of being comfortable with yourself. Like, again, this is a process that has to happen internally. This is not something that can happen externally. It's not something that somebody else can do for you. It's something you have to do for yourself. And before we completely bounce out of this idea that men don't have body hang-ups, I don't know what the fuck men y'all are talking to, but yes, men have body hang-ups too. Like, men do the same things that we do when we look at ourselves in the mirror naked. You see all your bad parts. You're like, oh my God, like, I've worried about, am I too hairy? Or is my stomach too big? Like, what are my arms doing? Like, what are these legs? Like, is my dick too big? Is my dick too small? What about my balls? Like, what the fuck? Like, why, what is going on with me? I'm a hideous chud. And yes, men go through this too. So let's not pretend like men live in this wonderful fantasy world where every time they see themselves naked, they think that they're just like the hottest shit on the planet. Because no, they're not. And we're all kind of in this weird body struggle thing together. So maybe just a little grace going in both directions would go a long way to making everybody feel a little more comfortable about having sex. All right, moving back to the piece, because this is already starting to go a bit longer than I planned, as per usual. What I'm saying is that when we feel that sex is a performance, it impacts, well, our performance. And the reason we see ourselves as performers in the bedroom, The reason that we're thinking about our appearances and the sounds we're making and our facial expressions is in large part because of the porn/pornified images we have seen on screen. So same goes for facials. It's more than likely that women learned that this was hot from porn, and that is troubling. Because I think emulating porn doesn't help us enjoy our bodies or sex, nor does it help us relax and have pleasure in bed. In fact, it inhibits us in many ways. Okay. Again, if you have your hang-ups, they're in your own head, and that's work that you have to do. But I don't like this idea that trying out something that you saw in porn and liking it is somehow troubling. Because, like I said before, this is the way a lot of people kind of work out their sexuality and find out what they do like and what they don't like, is watching things on screen and being either turned on by them or turned off by them. And if you get to a point where something turns you on to the point where you're like, you know what, I'd actually like to try that in person, and then you try it in person and you like it, cool, kick ass. Then you found this new thing that you like to do in bed that gets you off. Like, who cares where you learned it from? Who cares if you learned it from porn, or you learned it from watching just like normal movies, or you read about it in a magazine, or your girlfriend told you about it? Like, who gives a shit? It shouldn't matter where you learned the thing that gets you off. The only thing that should matter is, I learned this thing that gets me off. Like, that should really be the only thing that matters. But again, Megan is anti-porn, so I see where she would feel differently. But again, it's just I don't agree with it. And as far as feeling like you have to look or sound or move your body in a certain way in bed, I get that, and I see where that could be a problem for somebody who, again, doesn't know what gets them off and what does it for them. So you're doing this thing if you don't have the sexual experience to know like what it is that you want to be doing. You're doing the thing that you saw on screen because you think that's what you're supposed to be doing. And yeah, I can say that yes, that is a problem. But the solution isn't to like degrade porn. It's for you to figure out what it is you like. Like that's the only way through, people. Like there's no other way to figure it out but to figure it out. And again, that involves being comfortable with yourself and trusting another human being enough to explore your sexuality with that person in a place where you're not going to be judged or looked down upon. Or if you say that I saw this thing and I would like to try it, and would you like to try this thing with me? Like, that involves a level of trust and of kind of having a judgment-free zone where you can explore yourself sexually. So, moving on. All that said, I actually completely agree with what McComb said when she says, we can recognize our influences while still liking what we like. We don't have to have sex in any prescribed way simply because we are feminist, but to say that sexism doesn't get to dictate what I can and cannot enjoy isn't entirely true, because in many ways it does, and it has. All the fucked up ways I behave in my life were, as far as I can tell in one way or another, determined by my experiences being socialized in a patriarchal society. That doesn't mean I need to hate myself for it. It doesn't even mean that I need to stop behaving in those ways or thinking those weird, unhealthy things about my face, life, body, boyfriends. But it sure doesn't hurt to recognize how sexism factors into the equation. In fact, I think that understanding the way that sexism has messed with my head is the only way to overcome it eventually. I don't even know what to say about that paragraph, other than to just point out once again that, I mean, if you're going to parse your whole life through this paradigm of the patriarchy and, again, external forces to you, and blame that for things that you do, like, I don't get you. I don't understand externalizing yourself like that. I don't get putting that much of your sexual agency in the hands of a man/men/the patriarchy, instead of just taking control of your own body and your own sexual agency and owning your sexuality and just liking what you like and not having to do this weird two-step where you have to parse everything through this weird bullshit lens of trying to evaluate, why do I like what I like? Like, you just do. You like what you like. It's fine. It's cool. Like, you don't have to do this. But, moving on. Feminism has made sex better for me, not worse. Feminism hasn't limited me. It's helped me to understand me. It's helped me understand what I'm comfortable with, who I'm comfortable with, and what I'm comfortable doing. It hasn't made me ashamed. What made me ashamed was the not knowing. The trying to fit some pornified version of me that I thought I was supposed to be. Why didn't I like all the things I thought I was supposed to like? Without feminism, I thought I just wasn't liberated enough to enjoy degradation. That was a whole bunch of bullshit. I don't need to dress up in cheesy lingerie and put on a strip show in order to prove how empowered I am, because I don't need to actually prove anything to anyone. Thanks, feminism. No, I think Megan here is attributing to feminism what should ideally happen with sexual experience, is that you're supposed to figure out what it is you like and you don't like. And as far as the shot at the cheesy lingerie and the strip show, like, you know what? You don't do that to feel empowered. You do it because it's fucking fun. Like, sometimes you want to put on the cheesy lingerie and do a strip show for a guy. It's fucking fun. It's sexy. It's kind of hot. Like, you can just do that and not have to, like, wonder, am I degrading myself? What does he think of me right now? Is he viewing me as some kind of object? Who gives a shit? If you're both enjoying it, who cares? Like, it's not some grand, like, condemnation of you as a human being if you like to do a thing. Like, okay, we need to keep going. This isn't to say that I'm constantly having perfect, empowered, multiple orgasm, insecurity-free sex either. It doesn't mean that I don't catch myself performing at times. The sexism is still there, folks. Inside the bedroom. Inside my head. But I'm done trying to enjoy or pretending to enjoy things that feel boring, painful, degrading, because I feel like that's what the sexy girls do. Okay, cool. You shouldn't be doing things that you find boring, painful, or degrading because of any reason whatsoever. Sex should be enjoyable. If you're not enjoying it, then you need to take a step back and figure out what the fuck's going on, what changes need to be made so that I can enjoy sex. And as far as the whole performance thing, like, okay, you should feel free to be however you are during sex. Like, not everybody is super vocal. Not everybody has the best orgasm face. Sometimes your body does some weird shit during sex. Like, it just is what it is, folks. It's when you start being real and realistic about what sex is and what goes on during sex, you can start to kind of let go a little bit more and start to understand that, you know what, maybe it's not like the movies, and it's not like the movies. It's not like porn. Real sex is real sex, and fantasy sex is fantasy sex, and real sex may not always look like fantasy sex. Sometimes it does. Usually it doesn't. And that's cool. It's fine. It's okay. As long as everybody involved is mutually consenting and enjoying the process, it's fine. It's all fine. It's going to be okay. Trust me. So, finishing up the piece. So I don't particularly want politics in the bedroom either, but they're there, whether we like it or not. As long as we are feminist and we are living in a patriarchy, it's very likely that we're going to desire or enjoy things in the bedroom that might make us uncomfortable or confused or uncertain. We might wonder why sometimes we feel as though we are performing, why we ask to be spanked, or why we love getting facials. I'm never going to tell anybody to stop liking those things, but I'm also not going to pretend as though that facial isn't symbolic. You aren't fucking in a bubble, and yet you can have your desire. Have it without shame. Nobody's here to police the sex you are having, but as we move forward in this world and are on our paths as feminists, so long as we are sleeping with men, politics will be in the bedroom in one way or another. But yes, you can keep your orgasms. Now this is another one of those where Megan's doing that whole kind of, I'm not saying, but yeah, you are pretty explicitly saying what you are saying. and that is that you should be policing yourself in the bedroom to make sure that your desires and the things that you like as far as particular sex acts or how you want to do things or what you do and do not like are something that you should be policing and something that you should be thinking about. And if the thing that you like is problematic, you should stop doing it because it's problematic. Which, fuck no. Please don't do that. Like I've said, who gives a shit? As long as you like it, you like it. Who gives a fuck what anybody else has to say about it? It's nobody else's business what you do and do not like in the bedroom. So what if you like it when a dude comes on your face? So what if you like it when a dude smacks your ass? So what if you like your sex rough or gentle or up against a wall or in a bed or in a tub or wherever the fuck else you want to fuck? Who cares? All that matters is that you are enjoying it, your partner or partners are enjoying it, and that's it. That's all you have to think about. You do not have to go any deeper than that. You don't have to sit here and navel gaze and ponder about whether the fact that I learned this particular move in a porno and now I should probably feel bad because porn is objectifying women, so if I'm doing this thing that I saw in a porno, now I'm being objectified willingly, I guess. I don't know. It's just, oh my God, how? Just, can we please just all take a step back and just enjoy sex? Is all I'm saying. Like, it does not have to be this political thing. Keep politics out of sex. Please, can we have one area in life where politics and just this kind of bullshit doesn't taint everything? Like, can we keep that one area? Just one space of enjoyment where you can just be with somebody and you can have a good time and you don't have to think about all this other bullshit. That's all I'm asking. That's all I want. Can we get there, please? But that's, on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up because I've gone on long enough. So, as always, if you've made it this far, thank you. And, of course, if you do like this, please rate, comment, and subscribe. You can find me on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, and YouTube. Take care, and until next time.